Hello, so this is my full walkthrough video. I hope I can get it done a little bit more than 10 minutes because, the project kind of took took about an hour, just an hour to train. So I will walk through the project, the finished version of the project, instead of walking through the entire project, including the training phase, because it took some time. Um, so the first thing we did is to create a get the data set. So the data set, I want to explore the data set again. Uh, Basically, we have to generate our own file from the original data. So from the original data, we have user ID, we have ratings, we have movie ID, timestamp, and then we generated kind of this interactions data set and added an event tag, user ID, item ID, timestamp, and event tag. So this is the source data kind of that we based our training on. And as you can see, there's almost 160,000 entries in this Excel file. And that's the source data that I'm going to use to train the Amazon's personalized machine learning model. So, yeah. So first of all, let's go to a Jupyter Notebook. Create a Jupyter Notebook and to figure out, um, clean up the data. So this is what I did first. I kind of imported time and get the data file. So the original data set is coming from this website, and after I fetch it, I kind of took a look at it inside and see what's inside. So there's these files. So this is what I did to clean up the file. Basically, I added watched and clicked, and I created this file called interactions.csv. And this file is get downloaded and sent to uploaded to a S3 bucket. So this is my S3 bucket. As you can see, final project when this is the place that I uploaded the interactions.csv file. But there's this catch here. When you're uploading the CSV file, you kind of want to have the appropriate permission. So here I have this is a public access. Um, Bucket versioning is not enabled, and so basically you kind of have to have appropriate permission here. This is what I kind of struggled for a while, and I think that I included it in my write-up. We have to change the bucket policy in order to later on our personalized service can access and fetch data from this S3 bucket. We have to fill in these things. And so yeah, after we upload it to S3 file, let me go back to personalize here. So we can create a dataset group. And once we create a dataset group, we import interaction data. So here are our interaction data. So let me click into it. Yes. So as you can see, data location right here, this is corresponding to uh, this Amazon S3 bucket. Um, if you copy the URL properties, if you look at the URL, yes, this is the same. Okay, so final project dataset is imported from this location, and once it's imported, it's active right here. It takes a long time to import for some reason, so I won't go through the importing process. But just know that once your data set is created, you kind of have to import a interaction data. So once it's imported, and also um, in order for the schema thing, let me touch on the schema thing because I changed it. So in order for Amazon Personalized to understand your data completely, you have to change this part. The schema is kind of you can imagine it as a title thing that corresponds to an Excel title. So if you look at interaction data, here is the title, user ID, item ID, timestamp, and event type. Correspondingly, we have all these schema in place, event type, item ID, user ID, and I kind of specify the different data sets. In order for the data to be properly used, you have to change the schema accordingly, or else it's going to have problems. Okay. Um, so let's see. Once the data sets are properly cleaned up, properly uploaded, and it's included in the final project one dataset groups. Okay. Um, the next thing is you have to do a solutions and recipe. So what is a solution? A solution in AWS is a this kind of trained model. So as you can see, machine learning as a black box. You have data going into an untrained model, and Amazon does the training for you, and it came out as a trained model. So this trained model is called a solution, and the recipe is the model that you wanted to use. So I kind of wanted to click into this to just to demonstrate how easy it is to use Amazon Web Service and deploy a machine learning model. So let me type in the name final project 2, let's say, and its solution type is the item recommendation because I want to recommend different movie titles. And here, this is the recipe, okay? So basically, this is all the machine learning models that Amazon has written for you. All you got to do is feed in the data, and it will train. So what we're using is AWS user personalization model recipe. Okay. Let's look at the description here. It predicts items a user will interact with and performs exploration on code items based on hierarchical recurrent neural networks, um, which model temporal order of user item interactions. This is the stuff that we're going to use. And we don't have to do anything. We just feed it the data and create and train solution. And that's it. Just 2 clicks away. You can have a trained model. The cache here is to have proper data sets, and the data sets are cleaned up properly. So after the solutions and recipe has been have been trained, you will see active here. This process takes about 1 hour to up to 2 hours depending on your data set. I took more than an hour to train the model, which is really fast considering it's a computational intensive process. And AWS kind of just have more computational asset than a home laptop. So after this is trained, we can click into it and take a look at this. So we have the solution versions. The solution versions, if we click into it, you have all these metrics. These metrics are a measurement of how well the model has been trained. I am not sure how to evaluate these numbers, but I imagine it's something that a professional data scientist can take a look at. And so yeah, you have all these solutions, and after the solutions, we create a campaign. Now, what is a campaign then? A campaign is basically you base on your training model and you make final recommendations based on the model that you train. So if I this again takes a long time, so I just click into it and oh, there we go. Solutions used. This is the model that you've trained, and I in a previous step. So I trained the previous step as final project one, and this is the name for it. Now if I click into it, I can see the test campaign result. This is the final step. Imagine that you have a website, and you want to have, for example, if you're Netflix and you want to have a, a, a different movie recommendations based on your viewing history, okay? And you have all these users, thousands of users. Um, each of them has a different user ID. And when I log into Netflix account using my own ID, I can have a individualized recommendation. So let's say my user ID is 8, and I type into it, and let's get recommendations. So these are the recommendations that Amazon Web Service is generating for me. I can have movie 141. I might like movie 17. I might like movie 2. If I wanted to take a look at all these, what are these items, I will go to my source data and I will look at item ID. Um, so, for example, this item ID then in another separate file corresponds to a different movie. So, for example, item ID 141. If I look at here, 141. Um, nope, that's 1000. Okay, let's see 141. Yes, that's Birdcage. The Birdcage is a comedy. So that's my recommendation. Then these final results can be called upon by your website. Um, yes, and it's a real time thing. So when there's source data that's been changed, it will have a different recommendation. Hmm. So let me show you uh, the the Jupyter Notebook, the coded version of this, and kind of tell you what everything is doing. So we went through this, cleaning up the data and creating this interactions.csv file, and we this is to configure the um, uh, uh, personalized file, basically to create a data set. So here the name is personalized demo movie lens, and I can go to here and take a look at dataset groups, personalized demo movie lens. So this one is generated by the Jupyter Notebook code, and this one is generated by hand, going through each individual steps. So when I create a dataset group, I'll type in the name here, custom, and then step two. So for example, if I do project two, oh, two, and then I'll create dataset group and continue. So this is creating interaction datasets. So my dataset name goes here. Um, Using existing schema I briefly touched on. And no, step three is to import the interaction data. So that's where I kind of imported in the S3 file location, or the S3 file bucket list, bucket location in that step to try to get the numbers, get the data from S3 bucket. Um, so yeah, so this is create a data set, and then this is kind of just checking to see if the data is created. Now, as you can see, it took 1 minute to create a data set, and then this is the part that I changed the interaction schema, um, basically to match the original data set used in the interactions.csv. And then I printed the result to see if everything is going straight. And here's the part that I uploaded everything to an S3 bucket. The cleaned the interactions.csv file is uploaded to this um, S3 bucket called this name. So if I go to my S3 bucket, I will look, I will see a bucket name that is matching exactly that. And here's the interactions.csv. So this step is the coded version of creating an S3 bucket. Now, this is just uploading the file that was sitting in my directory into that S3 bucket. Now, the policy here I briefly touched on. You have to change the bucket policy in order to let personalized fetch data from the S3 bucket. So this is the changing the whole policy here. Now, this is having changing the IAM, creating IAM role and to have proper authorities granting Amazon S3 full access, personalized full access, which I kind of did manually by hand in a previous session. Um, so yeah, here you have importing the dataset into the personalized action. So this is just importing the dataset from S3 bucket, and this is still just to see if the creation is active or if, as you can see, it took 3 minutes to run this dataset import. Now, here, this part here is to create a solution. Now, this is the actually the one that we are setting the recipe. Um, Basically, just one line of code, and we said that we're using AWS user personalization recipe. The model is set here, and then we went on to create a solution using that personalized using that recipe. So this step might take some time. It takes a long time. Mine is a little over 19 minutes to train the model. And the solutions here, the solutions metrics here is corresponding to the metrics that we look at previously. So if I go here and I click on the solutions and I click on here, and you can see this solutions versions metrics is corresponding to this result. Campaign response. This is the part that I'm creating a campaign. Um, and then it took some time as well. And after the campaign is created, I will have the final result, which is to get recommendations. So here, I kind of randomly selected a user ID and get recommendations and kind of print it out. So if I rerun this several times, I will get several. For user 388, I will have all these recommendations. So yes, that's it, and I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this lab, and I hope you kind of understood what I'm doing. I also have a detailed write up here as well, just to make sure that everything is going smoothly. So I did not come from a coding background, and I did not think that I can um, several clicks away I could deploy a machine learning model, and somehow Amazon made it happen, which might justify why Amazon becoming um, such a large corporation. So yeah, thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you have a wonderful time. Thank you. Bye bye.